Welcome to Apex eSports League. I'm JT. Tonight we've got the round 3 of the Pagnian Import Skip Barber Cup, and that's on iRacing. And tonight we're at Oulton Park Circuit International. Tonight's session we've got 10 minutes of practice. Weather is mostly cloudy. Then we head over for 10 minutes of qualifying, and then the race is 40 minutes. And then cars are capped at 47% fuel, so we'll need to see the drivers head in for a pit stop to be able to make the car find its way home. At standing start, single file restarts with lap cars to the back, an ongoing weather variation of 20%. So the current standings after round 2, we had Blake Urquhart still leading the championship with 248 points. Ryan Carlson not too far behind, but on 197, and Stephen Banks very close on the tail of Ryan Carlson with 192 points. Last week for round 2, we're at Lime Rock Park GP, and we had Sebastian Vardell come in with a clean sweep, so a great outcome, taking the pole, the victory and the fastest lap bonus points. So the drivers for this series is actually competing courtesy of Logitech G Australia New Zealand, the Logitech G Pro X wireless gaming headset. So the winner of the championship will be having that being sent out to their home, and it's a fantastic prize to be given. We'll bring up the track. So in the UK, track length is 4.29 kilometers. So we've already got a few loading out on the track at the moment. So we'll jump over onto pit lane now, and we see how the guys are going in the open practice. Did have a little bit of a delay getting up and going with the iRacing server, taking its time to actually start the session. So it was a little bit laborious in trying to get going. Sometimes when it does do that, it can actually cancel out the race, and you actually have to go through and recreate that, but luckily that was not the case. So we only just happened to be a minute or so later than expected. So we've got 14 drivers loading up into the session at the moment. And if you joined us for the stream yesterday, there'll be some familiar names, especially if you do join us for most of our other series. We've got all our regular drivers. It was good to see some new names join us for our first big time event yesterday, doing the Bathurst 1000. And a big congratulations to all our drivers on a fantastic race yesterday, and then especially to our podium finishers. A little bit of a lock of the brakes coming into the chicane. It's going to be very tight racing in the Skip Barber Formula 2000s around Oulton Park. First times coming in, the drivers have got just under 2.5 minutes remaining of the practice, and then we'll be heading over into 10 minutes of qualifying. And it is very important to get a strong result in the qualifying, as they do earn championship points for qualifying. Got 25 points on the line for that pole, and with how close we're seeing this championship, every point's going to count. Ooh, big slide there by Mark Cochran. So we have Dean Williams with the quickest time out there at the moment, a 1:54.039. He's just been bumped down by Sebastian Vardell. If you join us for the stream, do hit that follow button. It was spectacular to see that we well and truly reached our previous milestone of getting the 190, and then end up crossing that 200 mark. So it's going to be great just to see that number keep climbing up. We've got plenty of racing action with iRacing on Monday nights and Project Cars 2 on Thursdays. Ryan Carlson comes in with the second quickest time. We did see Ryan on the podium yesterday in the V8s. He's been very quick in the Skip Barbers. He really gets this car into a slide. He very much enjoys getting this thing well and truly sideways. So there's 35 seconds remaining of practice. That's a pretty neat livery there down across. And the car looks like a Duracell battery. That is pretty neat. And Blake Urquhart, our championship leader. But it is very close for points. And then with incident last week, copying a 30-point penalty for making contact during the corner. That was a couple of good stacks in last week's round. And it was Stephen Banks that was copying the bad luck for it. And there we have practice complete. So we've now got 10 minutes of qualifying. And we will jump on board in front of the drivers for a lap around Oulton Park. And thanks for joining us, Dan. When you do join us for the stream, don't forget to jump into the chat. Let us know who you're here to cheer on for. Dan's here to cheer on Urk. And there are a bunch of sound effects controls underneath the stream as well, so that way you can applaud, cheer, boo, and a bunch of other fun sound effects. So do have some fun playing those over the stream. So we've got a few of the KFC cars out on the track tonight. So Corey Brand as well as Stephen Banks. So hopefully some more luck for Stephen Banks this week. There was a significant incident where his car was flipped. And if you did join us for that stream, and if you haven't checked out our Facebook page where we put up the results and the standings and the incident report, there was actually a car whose VR headset died out on them mid-corner, and the car just stopped. And then there was actually a fair bit of latency issues going on where there was frame drops from the drivers at that time of that big stack. And we saw Stephen Banks' car get flipped multiple times. It was quite a hefty crash. And then yesterday we did have Stephen Banks and Robbie Bradbury both get on the podium for the Bathurst 1000. So having a good drive in the Mustang. Philip Buckland gets that wheel out onto the outside curb just a little bit too much, and on that crest there with these cars they will bounce straight out into a spin, so it's going to be very cautious around these corners. See some time starting to come on the board very soon. And we'll try and, we've just had Mark Cochran. I'm not sure if he's just spun on a new lap or if that's him going for a spin coming out of the pits. A nice retro style looking livery there on the car of Dean Williams. And last time we did actually race at Oulton Park, it was then we actually first brought in the incident point count for our league races, as we did find that there was an exploit in turn 1 where drivers could take and 1 times off track to be able to actually take that first corner a lot quicker. So that's when we did actually start to introduce the drive-through penalty. Look at that slide, that's where we saw Buckland, I think it was, go for the slide. We got 3 MSR cars in a row. They might jump on board with our championship leader as he's about to start a new lap. Very tidy line. He's going to have a nice slipstream here. I think he's tucked in behind Sebastian Vandel. He's carrying a lot of speed. You can see him closing in from that slipstream. A lot of slide. Careful not to get too much curb. And very close to those tyre walls at the chicane. Things can come undone very quickly there, especially in these open wheelers. Makes it extremely difficult to try and put on a pass at those chicanes. Nice amount of drift as he cakes that mid-corner. Outside curb there is where we saw a couple of cars get a little bit loose, dropping that tyre off. And then the final corner, also a very tricky one. It's going to be a very tidy lap. Let's see where it sets him. That gives him pole position, so on board for a pole setting lap. Giving the commentators curse with the onboard footage. Ryan sliding that car out. He's got the second quickest time out there. He's done a 1:53.053. He's less than a tenth away from Blake's time. Look at that drift through the chicanes. Dean Williams bumping Ryan down a spot. So he's very close to Blake's time. He's set a 1:52.988. There's only 0.78 difference between the two. Some very tight times amongst the field. So I think about 6 seconds separating 11 cars at this stage. Matt Hardigan getting a lot of pace out of the car. You hear those tyres screeching as he's getting as much speed through those corners. And Carlson's just taken pole position. A 1:52.575. We did see him get rather loose in the tail at the chicanes. We did see him do that last week as well. Oh no, and Blake's just stolen back the pole position. Bit of cat and mouse with pole here, and there's only 1:50 remaining. So we're only going to see maybe 1 to 2 laps left to be able to try and get those times in. Damon Cross has got the 5th quickest time. Just behind him is Stephen Banks. A couple of drivers to get times on the board. Sebastian not setting a time. I'm not sure if he's actually had some off-track incidents or not. Does look to be the case. Looking at my incident records, I think he's invalidated his lap time a couple of times. Nathan Peters also in that boat. It looks like he's just commencing a new lap. So this will be the last opportunity for Sebastian and Nathan to get some times on. Banks has parked the car up. Well, there we go. Sebastian did just take pole position on that lap, and then straight away Blake Urquhart took it back. 152.386 and a 152.411. And we had Blake take a clean sweep in the opening round, then we saw Sebastian take a clean sweep in round 2, and we did miss out on seeing Sebastian make it for round 1. He did have PC issues, so he wasn't able to actually race due to the PC ending up carking it. Yeah, Dan, definitely a battle of the MSR, guys. I don't know if they're going to have enough time to be able to wrap up this lap or not. Will Sebastian be able to steal back? So with the session loading in a little bit late, we're probably going to be offset just slightly time-wise. So there's 5 drivers still out on track. Sebastian's out in the open here, so Blake's got this advantage by tucking in behind him. I think that's how he got that pole to be taken back off Sebastian. But this will only be Sebastian's first time lap. But Ryan Carlson's just taken pole position. There we go. Going to cross the lines. Will they steal it? And then there is the results. So I'll hide that. And bring up those qualifying results. Actually, no, it's just gone all skew. So I'll bring that back up again, hopefully. No, we just missed that. Just jumped over the session before we got it, but we did actually see Ryan Carlson take the pole position right on the final lap. So Ryan taking that pole position, securing 25 points. And a few drivers hit that ready to race button. And then we'll see the lights get ready to go. Commencement of round 3. Just waiting on Blake Urquhart to ready up now. And the track temps increase by a degree. Humidity's dropping, there we go, they've all hit ready. And then it's green flag, and we're away. A little bit of a delayed start to the front. There's a good bit of movement towards that mid-pack. It looks like Dean Williams making a dart up along the inside of Sebastian. And it's Blake Urquhart, sorry. Ryan Carlson maintains the lead, and he's already putting a bit of a gap on Sebastian Vandel. And he's got some pressure on from Blake Urquhart. It looks like a pretty clean getaway to start off. That's going to be pretty tight with how close the lap times are. Oh, sound like some contact. A bit of a slide for Ryan that's just lost in the lead. He's also gone out the exit curb. He's managed to save the car. I think there may have been a little bit of contact down towards the back. Looks like there's been, yes, and already a tow. We'll go back and see what happened with that one there. So a significant stack.
Caution, yellow flag.
So he's flipped him over onto another part of the track. That's a huge stack. So safety car underway on lap 1. That was Jai Schultz that ended up copping the brunt of that. And I think the other car that he went up over was Nathan Peters' car. We did see him drop down. Yeah, Nathan Peters also requiring a tow. Looks like Jai has retired out. Would be frustrating for Jai. To only be a quarter way through the lap and take a huge hit like that. Almost looked like he actually used the car underneath as a ramp to get that car up in the air like that. That'll bunch them up. They didn't get underway too much before Innocent, but with just how tight Oulton Park is and 14 drivers out on the track, and it would be a lengthy tow for Nathan Peters. The drivers do have fast repairs. Being a shorter track, won't be under caution for as long. And it's probably going to hamper some strategies with going in for some fuel at some stage, having a safety car early on. Drivers trying to pick the temp into those tyres. To keep those tyres up the temp. Track temperature is still at 24 degrees. Hopefully no incident again at the commencement of the restart. So there'll be one more to go. So the safety car should come in at the end of this lap, and then control will be handed over to Sebastian to restart the race. And some drivers opting to actually head into the pits, so doing a little bit of splash of fuel. So drivers were getting to about the halfway mark before needing to get fuel. Nathan Peters repaired and back out on track. Hopefully he can try and catch back up and he won't be too off foot in the end. Sebastian sitting hot tight on the tail of the safety car there. And you can't actually make contact with the safety car. It is actually just a image there that you can actually drive into. I'll tell you once you've actually gone past it that you get stung for a penalty. A lot of drivers usually playing around and to drive up inside of that safety car. Blake will be putting on a lot of pressure for Sebastian. Sebastian's usually pretty good with the restart and tends to get away pretty quick and even gets the jump on a lot of drivers. He's going to need to make sure he's got all that speed ready to come down after turn one. Otherwise we're going to see Blake and Ryan have a huge advantage of trying to get a pass on him very early after turn one. Should see safety car gearing up to get in. We're nearing the end of this lap. Nathan Peters working hard to try and catch the rest of the pack. He's currently 58 seconds away. Safety car speeds off. Should be. They're going to give us another lap around. It is a very lengthy safety car, this one. So we're now seeing Corey Brand, Robbie Bradbury into the pits. Both of them already been in and pit as well. So it's been given ample time. I think we were waiting on Nathan Peters to be able to get back up into position. So the safety car remaining for that extra lap. It's rather unfortunate, so it's now 9 minutes in. Only having basically half a lap of racing before that incident. That's why I've probably seen Robbie Bradbury, Corey Grant heading for a second splash. They may be able to then consider trying to conserve and potentially last out the remaining of the race. And you can hear Sebastian trying to conserve fuel. Hear him backing off and using a fair bit of clutch, letting that car coast as much as possible. As he's doing that, he's actually also losing out temp in those tyres. This is where it makes things very interesting with new strategies that they're going to have to start playing with. Peter's caught up and then put back into position. The last couple of corners to go. The drivers getting a little bit more aggressive in that tyre warming now. They will be preparing for this restart. Sebastian dropping that pace back. Just look how close these guys are. Blake is essentially on his tail. He's right up in there.
Green, green, green.
And green flag. Race back underway. Drivers probably desperately hoping not to have another incident. And you can see a little bit slippery out there with those cold tyres. Carlson getting broad. Makes a two-way pass. He's now up alongside Sebastian. He's just marginally ahead. All there's been a turnaround. I think it's one of the Century Motorsports cars. Oh, and we've just had Blake go off track as well as Sebastian. Both in a tandem slide. So those cold tyres are wreaking havoc on them at the moment. Whose car it was that went for the spin? I think it may have been Robbie Bradbury that slid out. Actually, may have even been Corey Brand. He seems to have dropped back a fair bit. Still a fair bit of slip showing from Ryan Carlson. With now only being 6 minutes away from the halfway point. Having done the last few laps under caution. Their fuel is going to be well off foot to what they were planning for. So they're going to have to be considering what they're going to be doing coming up. Sebastian runs a little wide. That's allowed Blake to get some more momentum to catch up. Dean Williams doing well. Aaron Maguire's just gone off track. I think that may have been a tail. I'm not sure what's going on there. I think there may have been contact with him and Matt Hardigan. Having slid out and going back in across. So it's going to be a lengthy tow for Aaron Maguire. Almost causing another safety car incident. I think a lot of what's going on at the moment is these cold tyres. As the cars start the race with cold tyres, so it's always a little bit slippery on that first lap as it is. And to go under safety on that first lap, those tyres are going to be very cold. And then we're seeing the drivers trying to conserve fuel under those safety laps. Yeah, we saw that Schultze. It was almost like a launch pad for you to go straight up and over. It was quite an impressive launch, and then throwing you right off into the middle of the other side of the track. Can do much but hang on there. We have Ryan Carlson leading the way. He's had some very strong pace in the skip barbers this series, but a little bit of bad luck, a few off tracks costing him position. And that car just bit in a little bit on the inside curb. Ryan now putting a lead over Sebastian Vandel by 3.2 seconds. Sebastian is starting to pull away from Blake Urquhart. Sure, if we still got Aaron Maguire in tow. Oh, he's just finished the tow. That fast repair being done. Able to get back out on track. So that's why we're seeing a little bit weird on the standings tower. As the game data actually tricks. As the car's being brought around for a lap really quick and thinks it's actually ahead of the leader. So we'll make our way down through the standings where we've got Dean Williams in 4th. We're starting to close in on Blake Urquhart. And Steve makes him 5th position. And looks like he's getting to have a little bit of pressure from Mark Crocker. He'd been closing that gap in. And he's about 6/10 quicker on that last lap than Banks. So at that pace, he's probably going to be looking at trying to get around Banks this lap. Damon Cross holding his ground in 7th position. He's got a nice little safety net to position behind. So Philip Buckland in 8th position. That's Robbie Bradbury looking at trying to get around. He was 2 seconds quicker than Philip on the previous lap. And there's not too many very tidy passing opportunities. Need to be able to really tuck in right in the corner and then get them on that corner exit, try and get that momentum so you can shoot out and around. Even in the straights, by the time you've actually got out and around, you've then got a lot of speed coming into the corners and they're very sharp. As you can see here, it is proving difficult for Robbie to get around. bit of oversteer from Buckland. That should be enough to possibly have Robbie carry that speed. Still hard to try and commit. He's probably going to have to try and get him after turn 1. False a little bit of an error. Gets him after turn 2. So we have Nathan Peters in position 10. Corey Brand in 11th. Matt Hardigan in 12th. Aaron Maguire in 13th. Jai Schultz in 14th, having to retire after that huge crash, having been thrown across the track. We have our race leader, Ryan Carlson. Sitting on 197 points for the championship. He's got Blake Urquhart on 248. So he can finish strongly tonight. Could potentially see a clean sweep be done by another driver. At this stage, I think the fastest lap is for Ryan. Seeing a 151 by the looks of it. And he's now got a 4.6 second lead over Sebastian Vandel. Yes, all session fastest laps have been by Ryan Carlson. Blake starting to drop back. We could even potentially be seeing some fuel conservation going on. Gets a little bit of curb and he's got some lap traffic coming up. I think it may be Aaron Maguire's car that he's off in the distance. Gets a lot of inside curb. Ryan's name not actually coming up on the standings, which is quite interesting. His data not coming through from the server. Sebastian still dropping out, but Blake starting to close back in a little. If he was holding back for a little bit, he may be very well pushing now if he's going to be planning on heading into the pits. Use up what's left in the tank to get him back there as quick as possible. So stop now will be more than sufficient to be able to get them back home. Stephen Banks having much more luck than he did last week. He seemed to have passed that bad luck over to Jai Schultz tonight. It's just amazing how easy these things flip. Mark Cochran in 5th. Robert Bradbury has moved up a few positions now. So he's gotten past Dean Williams and Nathan Peters after we saw him pass Philip Buckland. Barber has been in and pit twice. He went in 2 times under the caution. She was keeping that car topped up each lap. A very interesting strategy to be going for. So all those slower laps, some fuel conservation and a couple of splashes under safety be enough to be able to get him through. So in goes Blake. Banks follows him as well. So that's why we did see Blake starting to put the foot down a bit more. He's planning on heading into the pits this lap, using as much power as he could. Sebastian starting to bring that gap down. He could be potentially doing the same thing. Was quite quick. But we see Ryan pit on this lap. Still holding the fastest lap of the race. And then now that he's coming up to some lap traffic, he's got to decide whether pitting in and then putting that space back on will run the risk of getting caught up, potentially allowing Sebastian to close that gap. No, he's peeling off now. It's probably a very wise decision to do now. And Sebastian also choosing to follow in, so they're going to be racing each other through the pits. Cochrane's in 3rd position. He stays out on track. He has not been in pit. He's going to have to at least pit within the next few laps. He's going to be getting very light out there. Carlson having 2-second longer pit stop than what Sebastian did. Sebastian re-enters back in 5th position. Carlson into P2. Sebastian's just tucked in behind Robbie. That's Blake Urquhart right on the tail of Ryan Carlson. They're racing for position here. They've both been in and pit. Providing their pit went to plan, they'll have enough fuel in there to get them home in the next 11 minutes. And we did see Blake holding back those last 4 to 5 laps, putting right on the tail of Carlson. Slings out just for the chicanes. This could be interesting to try and make a pass. There's going to be no room here. It could go wrong. He's bumped him off. From the angle, couldn't quite see who would have had right away there. It was lucky that they made tyre-to-tyre contact. They could have interlocked and both gone off. Slightly drops off on that final corner. Cochrane's in the pits now. So Blake takes the race lead. Carlson goes very wide through turn 1. Carlson a little bit loose. He's going to try and go for an outside move. Tucks back in. Play a little bit of cat and mouse over these laps. And this is the chicane where Blake got the pass on Carlson, making that contact. Carlson carrying a lot more speed. He's going to be able to get the run on him around here, but he's on the crest on the outside. He's going to be in a good position for the next couple of corners. He's going to be able to force Blake to yield a little. Those wheels are super close. There's probably about a centimetre between those back wheels. Side by side. We just had Carlson's rear going between both of Blake's tyres. They could have nearly interlocked. An intense battle for the race lead. Up on the roll bar of Ryan Carlson's car. Blake gets a lot of slide. He's lost a lot of speed. Carlson nearly turning in, getting his wheel in amongst Blake's wheels. There is no room for rubbing in these open-wheeled cars. So much focus on these two contesting each other, it's allowed Sebastian Vandel to actually really close in on the two. So there's just over 6.5 minutes remaining. I'm going to see 3 to 4 laps left. And Carlson gets alongside of Blake again. Just ahead of him. Well, side by side here, last lap around, he's going to have to try and block the exit. And look at Sebastian flying up and catching these two. Oh, Sebastian goes very wide. Oh, and he's just blinked out as well, so a little bit of lag going on. A little bit of tyre lock on that back left from Blake as he trail brake through the corner. Blake looking to get back around Carlson. Blake looking to try and make that same manoeuvre in the chicanes. He's now sandwiched between. He's forced a little error out of Carlson. He was having to carry a lot of speed to try and defend that line. We've also got a couple of battles going on for the rest of the field, but this race for the lead here at the moment is getting rather intense. It's 0.1 difference between Blake and Ryan. Sebastian the same. He's going to get him on the final corner. Perhaps he's going to have that inside advantage. But if Carlson keeps him there, he's going to be able to stick with it. We're nearly 3 wide as we're coming up onto turn 1. There's not enough room on track to be able to get through for that. There's a touch again. And Sebastian, a little tap as well at the back. It's the same tie-to-tie contact that we saw at the chicane. Blake just marginally in the lead. Ooh, and they've locked. And Carlson saves that incredibly well. And was very lucky. That was Sebastian and Ryan both interlocking just for a brief moment. Oh, but I think he may have some damage that he's trying to tend with. The car doesn't appear to be steering too well. And drag some cones now. That car's probably not going to be voting too well at all. Otherwise, he may have just been a little bit off put, losing that momentum. Car seems to be okay. I think he just might have been a little bit off put. Oh, and Sebastian loses it, but he can save it just. What a slide. We've seen some very lucky saves here. Barber's dropped down a couple of spots. I think he may have actually had to head into the pits again. He did just pit, so he just came out on this lap. And that's probably just to get enough fuel to get him home, as he did only go in and get a quick couple of splashes under the safety. So Carlson must have taken some damage. He's had to bring the car into the pits. He's had similar bad luck in previous rounds. So we have Blake Urquhart leading the way. With a minute 40 remaining at the end of this lap, I'm pretty sure we'll see the white flag shown. Stephen Banks has moved up to position 3. Seemingly early pits for some fuel under safety car. It's definitely probably not a good strategy to go with. We saw both Blake and Sebastian just trying to conserve, and especially after the restart, conserving as much as possible. Blake looking good to further his lead on the championship. And Carlson, his closest competitor for the championship. Carlson's now down in 8th position after having to go for that stop. And it was a very lengthy pit stop, 47.2 seconds. And there is fast repairs. So it's not repairs. He may have even gone for some tyres or put a fair bit of fuel in. Varndell showing a little bit of netcode there. Mark Cochran closing in on Dean Williams. It's the last opportunity for him to get around. He's just completing sector 1. Corey Brand only a couple of seconds away. Oh, I think Carlson's back in the pits again. So he must have taken damage on that outlap. That's very unfortunate luck for Ryan. May not be another clean sweep tonight, but a well-fought victory for Blake Urquhart. Crosses the line with victory. Sebastian Vandel in position 2. Drifts their car for complete opposite lock through turn 1. Brilliant drift. And Stephen Banks also having some fun with the car. Well, he's just been dropped down here. Looks like he may have had a post-race time penalty that's been applied. Not sure what's going on there. Then showing Dean Williams in P3. Mark Cochran in position 4. Damon Cross in position 5. Corey Brand coming up in P6. He's got ample time to try and make that up. Be interesting to find out what went on for Stephen Banks. So you'll have to stay tuned to our Facebook pages to see what the outcome for the results were. If you are a member of our group, we do put up the results that the session gives us at the end. Got the official championship standings and the likes is after the reviews. So Nathan Peters crosses the line in position 7. Philip Buckland crosses in 8th. Looks like he had some post-race time penalties as well, so he's actually just been jumped down to P12. Carlson's moved up to position 8. It's a pretty good recovery considering he had to go in and pit twice towards the back end of the race. So we do have Sebastian and Blake waiting in the podium chat. Sure what's going on for Stephen Banks, but I think that is all of our drivers, so we'll bring up our results now. So I can actually get this screen. I know Stephen Banks did still get that, so just a little bit of weird data that I'm seeing. So Blake Urquhart taking the victory, Sebastian Vandel also on the podium in P2, and then followed in by Stephen Banks in P3. And the rest of the standings, we have Dean Williams, Mark Cochran, Robbie Bradbury, Damien Cross, Corey Brand, Nathan Peters, Philip Buckland, Aaron Maguire, Matt Hardigan, Ryan Carlson and Jai Schultz. So we'll unmute the guys. Congratulations, Blake.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. No, that was a good race between Seb and Ryan. Through that chicane, me and Ryan, I thought we hit, but I just had a look at the replay and it was net coded, so.
Yeah, it did look very close. And then even a couple of good slides and saves as well.
Yeah, no, these cars do like to go sideways, so yeah, no, they're good fun. But yeah, no, tonight was, I did no practice, literally jumped straight in, so surprising to be right up here.
Well done, congratulations. They'll do well for the championship lead. And congrats, Sebi. Taking P2.
Yeah, it was a good race between Blake and Ryan. Not sure if I tagged Ryan in this reason he went wide or I don't know if I left enough room or what, but yeah, it was a good close racing. I apologise if I was at fault.
Yeah, it was very close between the three of you there. We'll sandwich Blake at one stage as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was
Don't wanna-
no room for error there. Yes, it could have been all ending just for all three of you if something went wrong.
Yep.
But yeah, it was great racing to watch. And congratulations, Stephen, on podium as well.
Yeah, thanks JT. I was pretty lucky, just picked up third place through no good of my own really. Just unlucky for Ryan, and I think Dean may have made a bit of a mistake with his pit stop which allowed me to passing. So yeah, it's just all luck, mate. The other two way too quick.
Yeah.
And Dean, some reason, because he was in chat with us, his gear went straight to neutral as he stopped for some reason. But when he tried to take off, it was in neutral.
Oh, no.
Lost him a little bit.
Yeah, that would have been rather costly. Well, at least you passed on the bad luck tonight, though, Stephen, after the huge incidents last week. So poor Jai copping the aerial attack tonight, being launched out and over across into the inside of the track. So it's a
Looks
huge
pretty
hit.
impressive
Yeah.
out of the rearview mirror. Thankfully it wasn't in front of me. Yeah, no thanks JT.
Yeah, no worries. It's look forward to seeing us do it all again next week.
Nah, good race, guys, tonight, and cheers, JT, again.
Yep.
Yeah, see you all next week.
Yep, no
See
worries.
you then guys, and congrats.
Yeah,
Thanks,
great.
mate.
So.
There we have our podium finishes. So after 19 laps, Blake Urquhart taking the win, Sebastian Vandel in position 2 and Stephen Banks in position 3. And that should help Blake with his championship lead and getting that tiny bit closer to winning the Logitech G Pro X wireless gaming headset. But it will be interesting just to see how those incidents happen with the contact that went on. There's probably a little bit of netcode involved in that as well. So do stay tuned on our Facebook page for all the results, standings and outcomes of the incident reports. And then we are back again next week for round 4. We're at Okayama International Circuit in the full course. It's more tight, very fast technical racing. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the guys go around in the skippies at Okayama. So do hit that follow button so we'll be back again same time next Monday night, 7:30 PM Australian Eastern Daylight Time. And then we've also got Project Cars 2 with the Formula Rookies this Thursday night at 7:30 as well. So plenty of racing to see. So thanks for tuning in and hope to see you trackside next time.